Hello and welcome back to Essential Ingredients. If you've never joined us before, I'm Justine Richman, your host. And at Essential Ingredients, we strive to highlight innovators, changemakers, and those at the intersection of food and wellness in the hope that we can do our part to foster a regenerative future. So welcome and let's get started. Good morning and welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm your host, Justine Richman. With me today is Annie Jackson, and she is the co-founder and CEO of Credo. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Well,
it's nice to have you here, I guess, at Credo.
It's so nice to be here. So this episode and this series is it's a collaboration with 7x7, and we really want to highlight sustainability, and we want to talk about it and its accessibility within the Bay Area and all around. And so I know if we go back in your journey, you started off, Estée Lauder and Sephora, and then you came here. So I'd love to just get a highlight, an overview of that journey and how you came to co-found Credo.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I think probably the most succinct answer is I've been in beauty since I was 19. Got a great start at Estée Lauder companies, and then was recruited back home to San Francisco at this little startup no one had ever heard of called Sephora, and was so lucky to be part of that experience because we were the founding team. We had yet to open our first store, and it really became the catalyst for Credo in many ways, because what we were challenged or charged with was finding the indie brands of that time, and coupled with this newfangled open cell environment, because back then everything was in department stores, under glass. And so as, a merchant, it was exhilarating to, kind of track down these new brands that really hadn't gotten their start anywhere. And so when we fast forward, so my co-founder, unfortunately, we lost him to cancer in 2017. But he and I met at Sephora and decided the concept of Credo was entirely his vision. And we were really drawing from that experience at Sephora. Could we now, 10, 15 years later, find, the indie brand founders of their time, and also make sure that they were focused on sustainability and good for you ingredients. And I think at the time that we opened this store, we're sitting here in Credo in Pack Heights on Fillmore Street. This is our very first location. And we had about 60 brands at the time, and now we have about 130. 89% of them are run and are founded by women, or both. And they, for the most part, I'd say most of them are independently owned, and all of them have an unwavering passion for transparency and ingredients and formulations, supply chain, and kind of are trailblazers in terms of their own sustainability mission.
Wow, well, that's amazing, and it's so great to better understand what it is that Credo has here, right? Because I know the first time I came in, I was excited because I had heard clean beauty, but I wanted to know more.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know maybe, how do you choose those brands?
Yeah.
What are some of the benchmarks you use to make sure that when you're bringing in these brands, and they're indie, that they're also better for you and transparent?
Yeah, I think, the one thing that we're always very, kind of upfront about is there is so much complexity to supply chain. So we're not, I don't think we look at like all the different factors of creating a product, whether it's ingredient formulation, packaging, the founder behind the brand, their own focus in terms of what's important to them, equally weighted. I think it's always going to be, when you have 130 brands coming together and like this ecosystem, it's always going to be a little bit of a different angle on things. And I think that's what is so exciting and something to celebrate. You've got these very inspired people that are creating brands. If this is beauty, so they have to be efficacious and work and smell amazing and not separate all weird. But they also have to meet the consumer demand of, being better for you in terms of the ingredients that they use, being really transparent about why those ingredients are in there. And probably the number one concern that we get from our guests shopping in our store is, we hate all this plastic. We want less plastic. above and beyond anything else related to ingredients or anything. And so we do have what's called a sustainable packaging guideline that's part of, kind of the standard that we vet brands at Credo against. And we really, keep them kind of shepherding along in terms of using 50% or greater PCR packaging or just better materials, refillable formats, that kind of thing.
That's great. I mean, I think that's going to become more and more important to people too.
Yeah.
As this conversation continues to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I think what's so interesting about what's happening is with our ages, most of us in this age bracket have kids that are Gen Z. Mm-hmm. And the Gen Z consumer is fascinating because they expect this. This is not a big, kind of differentiator to them. This is the bar that they expect in products, whether we're talking about beauty or clothes or beer or cars. This is what they expect.
Right.
And so it really is, what the customer is demanding.
Yeah. One thing that comes up for me is I know when I talk to a variety of founders, what I find most interesting is what's driving them.
Yeah.
And as small businesses, they can't always achieve everything in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
And people can often be quite judgy.
Yes.
This is not sustainable, or why this one, or, I could buy a cheaper one and it does this, but they're a bigger company. So for me, it's really important to understand the founder and understand what their ethos is, which is what you mentioned, how it played equal parts. And I was excited to hear that from you because I feel like if we could talk about that more and encourage people to dig a little deeper, we might have an easier time of it with these brands, with other brands, as they evolve, as new things come into the market, giving people a chance. Small brand, it's hard to launch a small brand.
Oh my gosh, it's incredibly hard. And I think, to your point, so many of these brand founders, I'm looking around the store, Rosemary Swift behind RMS, Emma Lewisham behind her brand, Randy behind Necessaire. I could go on, but I think what's so inspiring about what they've done is they are the Estée Lauders of their generation. When Estée Lauder created her brand back then, it was really about, getting beauty into the hands of women and, world-class formulations. And really, she understood so well as a consumer what she wanted. And that's what she was delivering. Here, it's twofold, to your point. It's really that mission in terms of sustainability and feeling like they can create products just more thoughtfully. Like, I think back on my career at other companies and, it's always product formulation and product development has always been a big part of what I've done. We always talked about, does it work in the component? Is this the color payoff that we want? Is this the formula that we're looking for? Never once did we have a discussion about, okay, well, what's in this product? And, what does that mean for the product's end of life? What does that mean for potential, human health aspects?
Well, yeah, exactly. Because, there's all these different things in there and we're putting them on our face or on our bodies.
Yeah.
And I think that the conversation around better for you, while newer in the last decade, let's say, I think is really integral to the future of beauty.
Yeah.
And I'm only beauty adjacent as I talk to everybody in beauty. But, I appreciate beauty, right? So, what role, when you're looking at these brands, right, did that play for you when you went from Estée Lauder to Sephora to Credo?
Yeah.
Where was the better for you and the sustainability aspect for it in the beginning to where it is now? You were like kind of the first of its kind. Yeah.
So I would say that Shashi, who is my co-founder at Credo, had always really dabbled in, kind of this idea around natural beauty or around like, could these products go head to head with conventional beauty products? He had a real David and Goliath complex, which I love about him. So that was probably a big motivator. But I would say that in his past, when we were at Sephora for a brief moment in time, we had a skincare library, which we had all organic skincare. It came and went very quickly. I remember being a merchant at Sephora. I think I was about 26 years old. And a brand pitched me, I think it was, now I can't remember the name of it, it's long since gone, and they were really proud of the fact that they were organic. And I remember, it makes me nauseous to think about it, but I remember saying, nobody cares. Oh, and that feels terrible. So maybe this is my work to right that wrong. But then when Shashi was the president of Victoria's Secret Beauty, which is probably the last place you'd ever expect anyone to be really diving into innovation around primarily natural ingredients, he took a subset of the brand Pink. Do you remember this brand?
Yes, oh, with the clothing and the things. Yes, I remember that.
And created a primarily natural brand. Huge failure, not surprising. Wrong time, wrong audience, wrong demographic.
Yeah.
But he really learned from that, and he got very inspired by that idea. And then we're both San Franciscans. We were living in San Francisco, very progressive city around recycling and just sustainability in general, even way back then. That we kind of took all of those things together, our Sephora experience also. And I think we were really compelled with this thesis. Could you find brands to fill a store that go head to head with conventional, that, feel the same way? Like, I think we all can think back on shopping in natural food markets, and you're mentally already saying, like, I'm sacrificing, product performance for buying this product that I think, and I'm talking 12 years ago, everything's changed. But back then, you're like, I know this is going to smell weird. I know this is going to separate funny, but I'm going to use it because I like their values and their beliefs. And we wanted to change that. We were like, by design, not going to open in like crunchy hippie neighborhoods. We're hitting the high streets of the US. Mm-hmm. We are going to be right next door to conventional beauty shops or across the street or what have you, and give these brands a platform. And I will say, now that I think back 12 years later, those 60 brands that we started with, half of them had a lot of work to do, let's say. Okay. But it's changed. I mean, even since then, the speed of product innovation and formulation, it's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Well, also now Credo's a known entity. And so people, when they're building their products, they have a benchmark.
Yeah.
And they have something to look at and say, okay, well, this is what I need to do in order to become part of that group, so to speak. Make it better for you. Make it, less plastic. And you're really clear with what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as you're getting these hundreds of submissions, I'm assuming.
Yes, quite a bit. There's a lot of brands on the market today, which also is a little uncomfortable. I think, that's not very sustainable. I think, there's a lot of access to information today. So people are, it's pretty easy. It's not easy to grow a brand. It's easy to launch a brand, I would say.
Well, and I think that as there's all this information, it's also how do you dissect it and know what's important and what's not.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a sustainable brand or a potential brand for this, I know you went over a little bit, but what are some of the same things that some of the community here can look for when they come in to know that it's a really good, clean, transparent brand?
Well, I think that's what we are creating at Credo is they don't have to think about it. We have done the work for them. And so we have something called our Credo Clean Standard, which is about a 30-page document, I think, at this point, that brands follow and live by as their North Star. And that can be anything around the packaging materials that they use, the ingredients that they don't include in their products that are pretty pervasive in beauty today, following labeling guidelines, ensuring that they're doing basic safety testing. I think the easiest way that I can explain our standard is much of it. I mean, it goes far beyond a typical regulatory structure, but it covers like what we lack in a typical regulatory framework for launching products. Wow. And that's kind of, I think, a much more simplistic way to think about it.
And I also think that it's really inspiring for other people.
Yeah.
And I think it also gives you a place where people know I can come here and they're leading this initiative.
Yeah.
They're telling us what we need to do before even the big box stores even know.
Yeah. We have a really empowered customer out there feeling very good about the fact that they educate themselves and then decide what products they want to buy. And I think more than anything, that is really what Credo is all about, is we're providing information transparently in a beauty industry that's very opaque, and it is typically kind of a black box of information, and someone can use upwards of 12 products, if not more, a day. And it's just like food. So if you think about shopping for yourself or your family, you want to know what is in the product that you're about to consume, and that is really what we wanted to solve for. And I think it's traditionally a very kind of smoke and mirrors industry, and not a lot of information provided except what this is going to do for you. And we're talking about what could it potentially do to me.
Right. Are there any stories that you have from customers, or stories, anecdotes that you've read about the impact of how changing the ingredients and being better for you have impacted people's health or skin or efficacy of the product?
I would say that most of our guest journeys are when they are just learned they're expecting a baby, and they're also have potentially been undergoing a health crisis, or just generally starting to think about the beauty products that they're using that might be conventional products, and swapping those out one by one. Those tend to be the three kind of normal pathways that people take. And I think the one that, I most kind of, it pulls at my heartstrings are when people are obviously facing a health crisis, and they're like, I just started over with everything. Products that I use to clean my home, personal care products, the food that we eat. It's just kind of like, wipe the slate clean and start over.
Yeah, I could see that. And my mom had breast cancer years ago, and she recovered from it. But I will say that I do remember when she was like, okay, and we had eaten organic since I was a little girl, but then it came to, I remember Whole Foods was the only one that had the makeup that was natural. So we're going back a long time.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of options, and they still were not really great.
Yeah.
But it's a time when people really do look inward.
Yeah.
But I'd love that to change.
Yeah.
So that this narrative becomes what the community is talking about just in general, and we inspire people to make this what the future looks like.
Yes, agreed.
So if there was one thing that you could share about Credo and about why it's so important to you and what you want the listeners or the viewers to hear, what would that be?
I think that, we are a beauty store, and I think there's a tremendous impact that beauty products can have on someone's self-confidence and the way they feel about themselves that day. And I think if we can just put a smile on someone's face when they walk in our door, because we have beautiful stores with inspiring brands, and we've got an incredible store staff that are makeup artists and estheticians, that's incredibly rewarding to me. And that's really what we're here for.
Awesome. And so if we look forward a few years.
Yeah.
Okay, because you've been around for 12 years and you look forward, what's your next initiative that you hope to bring to the community?
Yeah, I think, we still have 15 stores in a very big nation. And so I think we're just getting started in terms of opening in more neighborhoods. So if I could fast forward or had a crystal ball, I would say I would love to see Credo in a lot more neighborhoods in the U.S.
Well, I'd like to see that too.
Yeah.
And just because I'm personally curious, with regards to how these brands are evolving and your Credo, your 30-page Credo, if you will, how do you see that evolving over the next few years to impact how people are innovating?
Yeah, we have a science team, which we're pretty proud to have. We work with an external council of advisors, anywhere from chemists to scientists to academics, that all weigh in on our standard. In reality, though, we revise it or change it fairly seldom. I mean, we do have updates every year for different, aspects of the business and kind of how the space is growing. I think we're also very cognizant of the fact that, we've got a bunch of brands here creating products, and you can't keep changing the game on them and expect them to, change with you. That's also not very sustainable. So we do try to, kind of keep that in consideration. But I think the space is changing quickly. And I think it's changing quickly in a really positive and optimistic way. So, I think we're just excited about the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
you for
you.
welcoming me in your store.
Yes, thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for listening to Essential Ingredients. Your support means the world to us. And we would love it if you could follow us on Instagram at essential.ingredients and subscribe to our Substack at substack.com/@essentialingredients. Bye for now.